Do you still think there is role for AFSPA Act?
Earlier, if you see, till a few years back, terrorists from Pakistan will come and strike Mumbai, strike other places in our country, Hyderabad, Bangalore, different places they will organize a strike coming from Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir, they will strike. Many times attacking the armed camps, military camps. Even you find China moving forward, trying to encroach the territory and all that. Now all those things are over. We launched 2 operations in Pakistan. One was surgical, which was across the border, where military went on the ground and struck. Another was air strike, which was about 250 kilometers within Pakistan, where our Air Force went and attacked a terrorist camp. Till 2016, 15, 16, even in fact earlier also they had melted down. Even Sikkim they were not considering as a part of India. You know, Sikkim is not. Now that they accepted finally. But so because they say that we are far inside and Indians are occupying it, we say that no, this is ours, this is not yours. So we have LAC, like for example Ladakh, northern Ladakh, Aksai Chin. Aksai Chin is in 1962 war, before that they had captured that area. We were not aware of what was happening in that area. So they captured a large part, almost about 30,000 square kilometers.
Do you still think there is role for AFSPA Act?
You know, Armed Forces Special Power Act, if you go on the internet, you will find many of my articles. I have been a very strong critic of it. In fact, I hope these are, I used to write those days when I was out of government. I was a very strong critic of Armed Forces Special Power Act, because this act is prone to be misused, because it gives Armed Forces Special Power Act, you know, it came in 1956-57 with the separatist insurgency in Nagaland. When Naga rebels wanted to break away from India, and when they started fighting a war backed by China and then Pakistan, because Bangladesh was East Pakistan. So they started giving them weapons and all. And so it was battle. Now at that time military had to be given certain special power, because normal policing will not work. Normal policing is you go with a warrant, you go to produce to the court, you know, and I mean you are finished. This is a war. It's a war-like situation. It's not a normal. It's a very extraordinary. So this came, but this becoming a norm, because it came in 1956-57 and it carries on even today. Now extraordinary situation should not be allowed to become ordinary. This provision where a military officer, even a non-commissioned officer, even a havaldar, can shoot to kill. Normally rule is minimum force. Here it says, if in his opinion there is no other way to check him, the can shoot to kill. So this is a very extraordinary power. Very so it's a battle theatre. Now it cannot be made law. So I was a strong critic of that it should not be allowed to continue for long. The fact is, constitutional validity has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has said yes, it is a law, valid law, because I was against its misuse. There were cases where it was misused, because we are all human beings. A military gets information through some informant comes and say, in that house there are some terrorists, and they go and storm the house, you find some innocent people. That person has given information out of some other interest. but innocent people. So there are, it had to be used very sparingly. It cannot be. As a result, today, most of the areas have been freed from AFSPA. There was a time when the entire Northeast we had Armed Forces Special Power Act. All the 7 states we had. Today, most of the states are free. Assam free, Tripura free, Meghalaya free, Mizoram free. Parts of Nagaland, earlier used to be whole, now only parts of Nagaland, parts of Manipur, and 2-3 districts of Arunachal Pradesh. That is the only limited area where it is still kept. But it is kept only because there are some people who are not acting, who are not resorting to violence, but they have not yet surrendered their weapons. So should there be, suppose if we withdraw the military, then what is the guarantee that they will not start again? So as a deterrence we have to keep our military, and they will also come round. By and large, as I told you, that all these areas have become free. But some pockets, there are some groups who are living in camps. They are not free, they are living in camps, but with weapons. Who will stop them, suppose if they go out of the camp and tries to do something? So there has to be a check on that. So today, Armed Forces Special Power Act has been lifted from most part of our country, and hopefully it should be removed shortly. We expect that it won't be long before it is lifted from all over. But as a law, its constitutional validity has been upheld by the Supreme Court. It is a valid law, constitutionally valid law. Because a state, when I say a state, means Indian state. A state must have, because a state cannot go beyond law. So there must be a law which is extraordinary in nature to meet with extraordinary situation. That doesn't mean that it has to be kept using it. No, there is a check on that. And that is where for a very long time, from 1956-57, the armed forces which we had all over, by about 1980, entire Northeast was with Armed Forces Special Power Act. Entire Northeast, with 80s, 90s, 2010, 2015, 16, we were all the subsequent, nearly for about 35 to 40 years, the whole area was under armed forces. Now that was not acceptable. But with the peace coming, settling down, people coming to arms groups, leaving the weapons, coming back, surrendering and all, that is how it has been lifted from all other areas. So Armed Forces Special Power Act as a law, it is a constitutionally valid law. Supreme Court has upheld it, fine. This is an extraordinary law, gives extraordinary power to the forces, armed forces. It has to be used under extraordinary situation. Next.
Renuka Devi.
Good morning, sir. Radicalization had been slowly entrenching the southern state. How do you see this trend, sir? Especially events like Coimbatore and Bangalore, sir.
This is a good question. All questions are good. No. There's today our country is strong enough that external direct assault is no country can afford. Earlier, if you see, till a few years back, terrorists from Pakistan will come and strike Mumbai, strike other places in our country, Hyderabad, Bangalore, different places they will organize a strike coming from Pakistan, Jammu and Kashmir, they will strike. Many times attacking the armed camps, military camps. Even you find China moving forward, trying to encroach the territory and all that. Now all those things are over, because after the surgical strikes and air strike. You know, we launched 2 operations with Pakistan. One was surgical, which was across the border, where military went on the ground and struck. Another was air strike, which was about 250 kilometers within Pakistan, where our air force went and attacked a terrorist camp. And one surgical strike on the east in Myanmar. We did 2 surgical strike and 1 air strike. After that, the message went clearly that anyone trying to be smart will be dealt with. Even China, earlier they used to move, encroach our territory, and we only used to send a protest letter. Protest letter, diplomatic protest letter is called Damarsh. Protest letter is a piece of paper, who cares for it? But they kept doing it. But now, no. You would be reading a newspaper off and on, there is a standoff with China and all. You read more in the newspaper because our military is there on the border, and when they come, there is a face-off. Will not allow you to come, move. And that is what is reported. Earlier, our military was not allowed to be at the border, at the line of actual control, what we call LAC. We have 2 terms, LAC and LOC. Line of control with Pakistan, because POK, complete Jammu and Kashmir is actually part of India, but Pakistan has captured it. So that line which divides the Pakistan occupied Kashmir from our Kashmir, that is called LOC, line of control. And with the China, since China says that their border with India is not settled as yet, though we had a settled border with Tibet, but after China took over Tibet, they said no, there is no formal agreement. In the ancient days, how the borders used to be defined, especially in the mountain areas, not by geographic, cartographic mapping. There was nothing like that. Okay, this is the mountain range, this range, beyond that you are, this and ours. This is the pass, this pass is with us or with you. If you cross the pass, you pay the tax. That is how borders were defined. Rivers, that part of the river is yours, this part is ours. Or maybe the mid course of the river is the boundary. That is how it used to be. So we had conventionally settled border with Tibet, but China, after taking over, they said no, we must have a proper agreement, and they started acting in a way. So we call it LAC, line of actual control. So earlier times, they on the line of actual control, they will transgress, they will say no, we are here, but our area is up to that. You might be reading in the newspaper, Arunachal Pradesh, new names coming up. No, they have their maps. They also define their map. They say, okay, Arunachal Pradesh is their area. They keep. These are all pinpricks. They try to say that no, we have a claim. Till 2016, 15, 16, even in fact earlier also they had melted down. Even Sikkim they were not considering as a part of India. Sikkim is not. Now that they accepted finally. But so because they say that we are far inside and Indians are occupying it, we say that no, this is ours, this is not yours. So we have LAC, like for example Ladakh, northern Ladakh, Aksai Chin. Aksai Chin is in 1962 war, before that they had captured that area. We were not aware of what was happening in that area, so they captured a large part, almost about 30,000 square kilometers. So we call that as LAC, line of actual control. We don't call it international border. International border only when both the countries, they mutually agree that yes, this is our border. So earlier times they used to move forward. We had kept our troops behind because after 1962 war, in 1962 war India was humiliated. We had suffered defeat. And that was not because of anything else, but because of our poor policy. We did not equip our military. We all believed that Santi, peace, peace. If we keep talking about peace, peace will come. In the world, peace, if you want to live in peace, you have to be strong. If you are strong, you are peaceful. Nobody will disturb you. If you are weak, you will never have peace. That is the law of the world, what to do. So earlier we thought that we are talking about peace, non-aligned, we are not with USSR, not with USA, nobody will disturb us. But it happened, China came, captured. After that we got so defensive that we pulled our troops behind, way behind the points up to which they had come, fearing that if our troops go closer to that, there may be confrontation, and that confrontation may escalate into a war. So out of that fear, we didn't even allow our troops to go. As a result, they kept moving forward. Our troops would go once in a while for patrol, as far as possible, and then come back. Because our troops were given instruction, you go and do the patrol. But there should not be confrontation. Now military wants a clear direction. You cannot say, okay, you go and patrol, this is your area, but don't fight. How can? Because they thought that if we go, and if there is a confrontation, I will have to answerable to my higher command. The higher command general would say, political executive might ask me, why did you go? Why did you do it? Okay, avoid it. On the ground, we were defensive. Today, we have made very clear, we will be up to the LAC. We are building roads. We even didn't build roads, thinking that if we build road closer to LAC, that will be taken as a provocative act by China. And that is what China used to say. How are you building roads? Do you want to escalate your military? No, we will not build it. No. We are now extensively building roads. You know how many tunnels have been built, even in, you have Atal tunnel, which is in Rohtang, which is Himachal to Ladakh. Other tunnel, which is Jojila from Srinagar to Ladakh, is under construction, going to be complete. One tunnel in Rohtang, there's where in Tawang, where in this thing, Arunachal, so that we have around the year. We have built large number of advanced landing ground, ALG, where your helicopters, military helicopters can run. So building them first. So as a result, what happens is, very often there will be a face-off, a standoff, and that is what is reported in the newspaper. It's because we have ceased to take them, allow them to do what they were doing. That's what it is. So that is how. Chalo, next.